Here we are working on the 6 great background masking techniques in Photoshop, and we're on to technique number 3, the quick mask technique. If you've never used the quick mask mode in Photoshop, you are missing out on a huge time saver. It lets you use a brush, pencil, paint bucket, or whatever to paint an inverse selection using shades of gray and black. Black identifies the parts that won't be selected, and gray identifies the parts that will have some level of transparency. And then when you switch back to normal mode, the clear parts of your quick mask are selected. So what does that mean? Let me explain. First of all, quick mask mode, you're going to be using a large brush. You need to make sure that your settings are correct. That'll make a huge difference. And in quick mask mode, using the black paint brush, you'll notice that the stuff that you paint actually turns pink or red. So here we go. This is what we're going to look like with the bumblebee. So here I am. First thing I'm going to do before I do any editing is make sure that I save it in the correct place. Save as. Put it on that shared drive folder in the Dropbox for web design class and in the Photoshop folder. Now if you're not sure where to save it, remember that this is on a little sticker on every single computer in the classroom, and it's also typed in writing on the assignment sheet exactly what path to follow. Please save it as your last name _ quick mask, and the type should be a Photoshop file. So it's student shared Dropbox web design Photoshop folder, your last name, quick mask, and save. Now it's a plain old bumblebee. Now we have to actually do some work. This is the quick mask button right here. When I click on the quick mask button, what happens now is that I have black and white. And so I want the black on top and the white here. I'm going to select the regular paintbrush, the brush tool. And I want to paint around the bee. Now this is a really tiny brush. I'm actually in a hurry, so I'm going to make my brush really big. And I have to make sure that the opacity is set at 100% so it's not going to be see-through. And that the strength of my brush, the hardness, is at 100%. So if you have 100% brush, 100% opacity, and the size of your brush works, and black is on the top, now you should have a red, pretty solid red background color. Now you can see that it's actually you can see where the creases are in this little sheet that the bee is on. So it's not painting it solid red, it's just showing us where we've selected it, because we're not actually painting. Even though we're using the paintbrush tool, we're not actually painting. Now, I didn't mean to get the bee. I can actually switch it to white and change the size of my brush so that I can be a little more precise. And I can paint over the bee to undo. So my bee is untouched, but I do need to get in a little more specifically, like close to the bee, so I have to use the magnifying glass to zoom in. I'm going to go back to my paintbrush, back to black on the top, even though it's going to look red. And I also want to adjust the size of my brush, still at 100% for the hardness, and still at 100% for the opacity. Now that I'm zoomed in and I have a slightly tinier brush, then I can get a little more detailed, a little close without accidentally also getting the bee. So you want to be really careful. A lot of stuff with Photoshop, even web design, or maybe especially web design, means that you have to have attention to detail and not do a heck job that's not giving it your full attention. So I'm just trying to get all the way around this bee, and it's still kind of hard to get in those tiny little spots. So once I get it close, pretty close, I'm going to do one more pass. I'm going to go ahead and make my brush even smaller. 1 is maybe a little too small. 7 is good. And just get in those edges so that I can smooth it out and make it real nice and close to the edges. And not have any excess background, because we really are trying to get rid of the background without messing up and getting rid of the bee itself. Okay, so this is all while we're in quick mask mode. you can see over here in the layers panel that while I'm in quick mask mode, it highlights the layer in red even. So that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on the quick mask button again. And now what it's done is it has actually selected everything that was not painted. So when I painted the background red, it selected red. Now here's the cool thing. I'm going to unlock, so I just click the lock, unlock this layer, and I can go here and choose a new layer and say OK. Or I can go up to the top and choose layer, new layer, either one of those. The point is that we have two layers, and then I'm going to bring the B to the top. And now if I hit delete, just the delete key on my keyboard, it deletes the B, and that's not what I want to do. So I'm going to undo that. I actually need to go up here to where it says select and choose inverse. And now you can see that it's everything but the B has been selected. So if I hit delete now, it gets rid of it. One more thing, they said that, let's see, let me go back to our Google Doc here where it's got all the directions. We did this step, we painted around it, we got really nice and tight with a smaller brush. And so now we're back in here, we're out of quick mask mode. We can click on this layer item down here. Well, that's another way to do it. I forgot about that. So actually, we're going to go here. I'm going to step back. I'm going to go select inverse. So it's that B again. You can see in quick mask mode, it's red, right? So that's one way to do it. So I'm getting out of quick mask mode. And over here, we've got, let's see, can I just make this bigger? No, it only lets me the screencast. Anyway, so right here, if I click on that, it has isolated the background. You can see there's like a different shape. And so now I'm ready to use my paint bucket tool and pick a color. I'm going to go with green, why not? Make sure I'm on the background layer, paint that green. Now on the bumblebee layer, how I add the drop shadow is I go here and I choose drop shadow. And again, if I need to adjust the distance so that you can see the shadow, I might do that. Sometimes it doesn't show up, so you got to pull it out a little bit and say okay. And that looks pretty good with the drop shadow and the background color. I don't see any like noise or speckles, so I'm done with my quick mask one. I can go to file and save and say okay. So now my quick mask one is done.